letting us get that coordinated. We're going to have a talk right now, and it will go about 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on your level of engagement, because it's something that I've been wrestling with. It's something that I think we've all been wrestling with, because particularly with inflation, with the war in Ukraine. By the way, I used to live in Kiev and Moscow. I was there for 5 years. So it's a very intimate situation for me. At the same time, I realize that it is affecting the macroeconomy, and given what the Fed did yesterday, we're entering a different stage. And so what then can HR do with the constraints financially, resource-wise? And there's some ideas that are being promoted and explored, obviously leveraging technology, leveraging data, and that's essentially the conversation that we'll have today. There's a lot of talk about employee experience. What are those solutions looking like? What are HR's priorities now, given all these shifts? So that's what Jess and Dan are going to lead a discussion on. We are going to take questions as we go, so by all means, raise your hand, interject as we proceed. We might also field some questions from the online audience. Okay? So with that, Dan Riley from RADICL, Jess Von Bank from Leapgen. I'll let you introduce yourselves a little bit more, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support and partnership over the years, as I mumble, but super appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you all coming out on a beautiful day. When I posted about this, I'll just say, I didn't say we were going to live stream it because I knew, wait a second, I'll just stay home. So I'm Dan Riley. This is Jess Von Bank. We'll introduce ourselves in a moment, but I'm going to first start with just some fun. So this is about, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is working with what you have, collaborating, teamwork, right, and problem solving. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables. I have a couple trivia questions. I'm going to bring them up. They're all about Minneapolis. So, okay? So here it goes, though. But here's the deal. You have to work with the table. Quickly assign someone the speaker. Yeah, there you go. You're already doing it. And you'll have about 10 seconds to come up with an answer, and then we're going to have to try to see if you get it right. So quickly collaborate, but don't shout it out. This is teamwork at its best. All right? And this is about, again, the lovely state of Minnesota. All right, so the first one, remember, Minnesota. What's the stage name of the famous musician Robert Zimmerman? Think about it.
What are we supposed to do next?
Is everyone ready? Okay, table one.
Bob Dylan.
You got it. We're gonna have you. This is actually
You gotta raise your hands.
I was expecting maybe some wrong answers. That was good though. So I'm gonna pick a table at random. All right?
Actually, raise your hand if you knew that answer. I'm
Yeah, let's do
embarrassed
that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Ah,
So embarrassed.
Dylan.
All right. So. All right. So then the next one.
Meet Alicia.
All right, so we're going to try a little different approach here. Okay, who was the Minnesota native that wrote The Great Gatsby? Scream it out, we'll see if you know.
It's harder, man.
All right. Okay, name the hometown of the Jolly Green Giant.
Healy.
No?
No.
Missouri, yes. Yes. All right, some tough ones here. All right, we'll see. There's beer drinkers in here. You ready? Let's see who gets this. What Minnesota product used the commercial jingle "From the land of the sky"?
Who is that?
Oh, did anybody?
What's the jingle?
Ham's beer. From the land of the sky blue waters.
I would have gotten it.
Would you have gotten that?
Yeah.
All right.
I yelled it out.
I'll beat you.
No.
All right. Okay. Okay. What kind of this one's too easy, so yell it out fast. What kind of animal is the mascot?
Run over.
I've done the advanced side. You're okay. Hang on. We'll see who gets this, who likes to shop. What's the name of the first enclosed shopping mall built in Minnesota? Yeah, everyone see, I don't know. This is the easy one. Southdale? I don't know. I would have
These are
guessed.
like the Dumpstar Tribune articles.
All right, let's do one. I got to get one tough one. And this one, just name it out. Name the 5 states that border Minnesota really fast.
Nebraska.
See? All right. Everyone feeling good now? All right, hey,
didn't know that.
since my brother and partner in crime is giving these, give me one trivia question. A really tough one.
A tough one?
Tough one, really tough. Minnesota based. Put him on the spot here. This is what small brothers do to bigger brothers.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
younger
I
brothers.
think, all right, I'm just gonna do another easy one because in the spirit of fun. What famous Minneapolis nightclub was featured in the movie Purple Rain?
First out.
There we go. That was too easy.
But did you know the street? I said this wrong.
Yes, oh yeah, this
The
is a good one.
street, First Avenue, has been renamed. Can anybody rattle it off? Prince Rogers, Nelson, Avenue, something like that, yeah.
Causeway Avenue.
In honor of the artist.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about, what city has, or what town has a gas station designed by Frank Billy Wright in Minnesota?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Okay. Wow.
Which one?
Okay.
Oh.
Frank Billy Wright, yeah.
Here, since we're in this, at the data analytics, people analytics, how many lakes are in the state of Minnesota?
It's like 14,000. 1,000 plus.
One more than Wisconsin.
Well, one was Wisconsin. All right. All right. Well, everyone's the goal of this was to just open up, do some teamwork, laugh.
By the way, there are only 4 states that border Minnesota.
Oh.
That might have been a trick question. So it's funny. Okay, hang on. Iowa doesn't, Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, because of they're at least this. So we're learning something. This it says Michigan because.
Must be Lake Superior.
But the water might be
Not
the reason why. Via the Lake Superior boundary. There we go. All right, we all learned something. We're all a teeny bit smarter. All right, so quickly, quick intro about each. RADICL, we inspire change. We are a HR transformation advisory company. My brother is sitting over there, our intern sitting over there. We're thankful to be here. We're committed to organizations going through radical change, whether it be org redesign, whether it be culture work, whether it be putting people first, making sure a people strategy is more important than profitability, revenue, growth. Again, as I say over and over again, those are outcomes of taking care of your people, period. Like mic drop, I wouldn't. It's the only mic that's working, so I'm not going to drop. But that's what we do. We wake up every day and we breathe that, so.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Jess Bombay. I work for Leapgen. I'll show that slide in a second, but we're also consultants around digital HR. And when we spoke with Al about what to talk about at this event, obviously the goal is to talk about transformation and the future of HR and the future of work, and we sort of called a time out. Because, I mean, as we already heard, a lot of the strategy work we do, and certainly when you say the word transformation, that's like long-term planning. Those are like 3 to 5 year roadmaps, right? And when you set a strategy, or when you decide on a skills taxonomy, or when you set a data strategy, all of these things are big commitments and they have to be executed. They take time. They're executed over the long term, and you're trying to make business cases for sort of like immediate tangible results, and also how you're truly going to transform work and people and HR over the long haul. Brad is in the room, Alicia's in the room from Leapgen. They know this, that when we partner with customers like McDonald's and PepsiCo and Lululemon, like we're in it for the long haul. But how do you do that when, as Al said, so much is changing? You cannot have a 3 to 5 year roadmap anymore. You really can't. And so I asked if we could please talk about agility and optimization and doing something more with what you have today while you're setting your vision and your sights on building the workforce and the workplace of the future. And so that's what we do at Leapgen in a nutshell. Obviously that takes lots of different forms. We talk about technology approaches, we talk about deploying strategies, not implementing technology. There are some really critical differences in the nuance of that statement. And we talk about workforce experience design, human experience design, whole person approach, all that that entails. That absolutely requires data, 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 data. So that's what we do, and that's what we hope to talk with you about today.
Let's go.
I'd love to, I mean, it's the fun part of having an intimate room like this. I hate presenting. I love conversations. Can we just go around? Do we all know each other? Raise your hand if there's somebody in the room you don't know. Ah, perfect, okay. I don't think I need to run the mic around. Can we just call out name, company, and the number one conundrum? The number one thing that you're trying to solve for in 2022. Is that fair enough? Who would like to start? Can I call on you?
The late person. I co-lead a company called the VO Dojo that's an international voiceover training based in Los Angeles. And my name is Catherine Campion. I live here in Minneapolis. I've known this guy a long time. That guy lives with me. Know that guy. Honestly, like the biggest, we have a lot of millennial and Gen Zs just struggling. So we cry in our meetings. There's a lot of emotions. It's actors, it's performers. So there's a lot of emotions. And then there's personalities. There are a couple people in the company that people are like, if you don't get rid of them, I'm walking, you know? So like top people that just don't click well.
Thank you. Pat?
My name's Pat. I'm one of the co-founders of RADICL. And, you know, in terms of conundrum, we're a small growing firm, right? So I'm thinking like internally for us versus kind of market facing. But it's, you know, it's finding great talent for us too. I mean, it's just piecing together the team that's going to help us deliver on the amount of demand that we're seeing in the market.
I love it. Sebastian, this is a tough question for you. How do you put an intern on the spot? What have you learned about the world of business and work so far in like your 1 month internship so far? I'd love to hear that.
Oh, well, yeah, a lot. So first of all, I'm Sebastian Miata. I'm interning with Pat at RADICL. It's been a great experience, just learning a lot about a whole bunch of stuff. But persistence maybe is something, big lesson that I've learned so far.
I love it, thank you. Jack, I'm with you today.
Yeah, I'm Jack Ehrlich. I am with Vizier, and you know what clients are telling us they're dealing with is, and this will be no surprise, talent acquisition and retention. Those have been the two things. That may switch quickly, but that's what's been, you know, the conundrum.
Yeah, thank you. Alicia, what's the big question we get from clients and prospects, or how would you like to answer that?
I'm Alicia from Leapgen, and I was going to say probably just having a plan, but then also being able to like turn on a dime, like just being agile and flexing with what we're hearing change in the workforce every day.
Yeah. Brad, you just came home from a deep conversation around long-term partnership strategy.
I did. So Brad Severson with Leapgen, and I was really going to highlight what Alicia said. You know, what we've learned is that at this time we really have to be agile in our approach in working with customers and starting small and growing the relationship with them. And we're, you know, an organization that's really relationship based, and this conversation that we had this week in Memphis was really, that's what they're looking for. They want a long-term partner, somebody that will know and understand and how they, what motivates them, and how they operate. So, yeah, that agility has just become more important than ever.
It is the buzzword, but it's an important buzzword. It is for a reason. Nick, good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you. Nick Garvis from One Model. more people analytics platform. Biggest conundrum that I see is a lot of the organizations that we're working with that are considering our technology are really struggling with IT organizations that want to build stuff on their own, and they're just not evolving to the point of maybe it's not the right, that's not the right thing. And I mean, I tell somebody like, let's say Comcast, you guys don't build your own trucks. You don't build your own cell phones. So a lot of IP that's been developed in people analytics, and IT departments that are trying to build it themselves are burning through tons and tons of cash, while their teams are not really helping their organizations to get better at talent decisions. So that's the biggest conundrum is we want organizations to be better at talent decisions. I don't care how they get there, they've got to get
Hi, Leanne Lindemann. I'm with St. Croix Hospice, Director of Talent Acquisition. Recruitment, healthcare is very challenging, but also that balance of the retention to it. We are growing very, very rapidly and geographically, so trying to tap into markets that we haven't been before and have no brand. So, and then being able to demonstrate the value of the work that we're doing in HR and talent acquisition. So internal brand and then external. So
We should talk after. I started in TA and employer branding. I'd love to chat with you. Who else do we have? Anybody? Yeah.
I'm Dan Hill. I run a company called Sensory Logic. I'm deeply interested in the employee experience, and I'm fascinated by the statistic that about 13% of employees are engaged on the job, which is devastatingly low. How do you improve that?
Hello everyone, Jared Johnson from Target. Thinking about some of the biggest challenges we're looking at today. As a national retailer, we have found ourselves on both ends of the Great Resignation, where we've had a huge interest in people wanting to come to Target, but then also a fair number of people leaving Target as well. So as an enterprise, that's one of the big things that we're looking at. And also more locally, where we are based here in Minneapolis, is how do we use our headquarters locations? We have been remote work for the last 2 years. We've opened it up, and now there's a mix of people coming in and staying home. And so what does that balance look like going forward?
That's great.
In the back?
Sure. I am Regina. Regina Burrows. I'm coming from Microsoft. And I apologize, I missed if there is something specific we're supposed to share.
She was drinking beer.
Yeah. But anyway, I am 2 months into my current role, and I'm new to the HR world. So one thing I'm working on now is figuring out how I can apply some of the same. And I'm coming from the data science world, so seeing how I can apply some of those techniques within the HR space. And I've been learning a lot just about the HR space in general, which has been great.
Thank you.
I am Ben Shinky. I'm with ServiceNow, but I'm 2 weeks in. Prior to that, I was with SuccessFactors. So I'll probably talk about the biggest conundrum I feel like I have in line conversations with customers on that side is a little bit to your point, like don't talk to us about HR transformation. I have to solve a problem tomorrow, yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Like around talent, attracting talent, keeping talent. What does it take? How do you get creative?
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Mayank Jain. So Mayank spelled as M-A-Y-A-N-K. For the past about 2.5 years, I've been doing my own consulting as part of what's called People Transformation Group. Before that, I worked with Nick and Samantha at Allianz. And what I'm finding is really two things currently with my clients. The first one is at a very high level, which is, I think it was a topic discussed before this, organization capabilities. So really, the company has a certain, let's say, strategy to grow certain products, certain markets, whether, or maybe through digital transformation or whatever the case might be, but then to understand what kind of organization capabilities we have, what's strength in terms of numbers, in terms of which roles, in terms of skill sets, and so on and so forth. And that is a very, one of those things that I think HR has not tackled as much, especially more in the service world. In the brick and mortar earlier industrial age, yes, to an extent there was more. So that's one. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take two.
It's okay.
The second one.
Most people have more than one conundrum.
So I get a money good.
Yeah.
The second one, which is not surprising, which should be surprising, but it's actually not. And it's a problem for the past 25 years. And guess what that is? Accuracy of data. Okay, the problem, and these are large companies and small companies. And the problem is that you don't have, like, finance accounting, headcount accounting, just basic, simple headcount accounting. All right, finance, the word of finance, developed double entry bookkeeping system and all that kind of stuff, probably, the time of the Medicis, 1600, 1700. HR hasn't. Right? In addition, HR, $1 is not, a dollar is the same as another dollar, but in HR, a person is not the same, another person. Therefore, when you talk about accounting, the ins and outs, you can't net it off. And that's just one example. So these are the two very, different types of issues that I'm seeing with my clients.
I love it. Thank you.
Sam South, Microsoft as well. Similar, I left people analytics for a while, went to data science, came back into people analytics, so we are trying to get re-educated on what's going on. I would say the biggest topics that we're focused on is, of course, the whole issue around retention, hybrid, making sure we're navigating it successfully, being that people like both options. And then of the employees that are there, how are they thriving as the employees are expecting a lot more out of employers than what they typically have before when it comes to values, the political stance, all those things. So really navigating what does that look like as well.
Mark, you've already heard from me a lot from Pennsy Brain Glass, but I'll switch it to talk about our own company right now and the growth we're going through. In 1 year, we went from about 180 people to now we're over 600 in a year. So it's been massive org changes, process changes, system changes to mature and grow up and be a growing new company. So, and we're the average tenure of our recruiters right now is about 2 months. And so they are figuring out all the systems, and we have hundreds of open roles, and it's a crazy conundrum that just how you figure out growth and integration as we move forward, and experiencing all the same pain points as others, but on a smaller scale.
Hi, I'm Tarek. I also work at Target. So Jared did a great job kind of with some of those macro trends. I work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I would say, one of the big things we're really trying to figure out right now is better listening strategies for a very wide audience of team members who are on the floor serving guests, and how we can use that to really move into a human-centered design model, as opposed to kind of a top-down model that we have right now.
Great.
Hi everyone, John Koss, recovering HR leader. I have been in HR my entire career. Now I'm at Perceive Search and Consulting, and so my last two roles were at these small consulting firms where I was helping with business transformations and workday implementations and change management and all these types of things. And what I found was, as much as I love building talent within one company, why not just help all companies? And so my conundrum is all of your conundrums, actually, because my role is to connect with clients to see what their needs are, to see where the gaps are, and then help try to plug the talent in. So glad to be here.
John, you also thought that Nebraska bordered Minnesota,
When
which
I've
is,
driven through there too.
it's a little concerning.
I thought that too.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I know that wasn't great.
Oh, pick me. Of course. I'm insecure. I just need to speak. No, I just want to thank you all for sharing. And I don't know if it's a conundrum. I don't have any. My life's perfect. I don't know about yours. No, it's absolutely not. My conundrum has not being too far. So as someone who works on the future of work and processes and governance and technologies that enable that, I'm trying not to get too far ahead where it's irrelevant and just stay close enough where it's actionable. And so there's a lot of energy around skills, and the way I translate it is the capabilities, and rightly so. Skills are very, very important. But when we talk about humanizing the work experience, one of the things that's come to light with COVID is capacity. We are all as human beings constrained by time. So when we talk about well-being specifically, and different cohorts of people are single mothers, elder people who have to take care of their elderly parents if they have young kids at home. Are we accommodating and creating elasticity for individuals so they can flex to do what needs to be done in their lives? I think for too long we've just thrown work at people and just hope they prioritized it and figured it out. And I think that has to shift because it dehumanizes the work experience. You all, if you don't know, it came out last week, and a few of us have commented on LinkedIn, HBR article, is people analytics dehumanizing the employee? And talk about a freaking trigger, because I've spent my career trying to ensure that people data and analytics and the insight we generate actually humanizes the work experience, sees people. So that's my conundrum, is ensuring that we are staying in creativity in the midst of what we talked about with the disruptions, with inflation and the contraction of the economy, which is already happening. How can we keep progressing and still honor the human without just having them suck it up? You're just lucky you have a job. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, just one question. Thanks for sharing. As we rolled into the year in January versus getting ready to roll into mid-year in July, so I guess a quick show of hands, because I think this leads well into the next part of the conversation. How many of you had to, whether you're a practitioner or a vendor, whether you're sort of working with clients or building your internal strategy, how many of you had to really pivot and change your people strategy, your analytics strategy, compared to where things were in January? We were kind of a little more optimistic, maybe, hopeful, maybe, to where we are now, where there is some panic. Right? We shouldn't panic, but it exists. So, quick show of hands. Like, how many of you really had to reimagine the next half of the year, mid-year?
From a personal portfolio standpoint, definitely.
What's that?
From a personal portfolio standpoint, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, a couple of you, Al, nodding heads. Yeah, I think, and so one thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to use the metaphor that Jess came up with, and then
because I feel this, so it's
well,
personal.
So we're going to talk about getting the maximizing HR, maximizing our people, and a great metaphor is you have to make a gourmet meal, and you have your pantry and you have your fridge. You can't go shopping, you can't order Uber Eats, you can't order Amazon delivery. You have to work with what you have. And how do we maximize people, whether it's through org redesign, whether it's through empowering people, whether it's making sure that people are doing the right job, the right place, the right time. And that's a big part of success in navigating through right now what can feel like turbulent times. So with that, I'll hand this.
I love all of the examples you shared. When you're a firm like Leapgen or like RADICL, whenever any of you who are responsible for strategy, work, and long-term planning, whenever you talk about business transformation, it feels like you're planting a garden, right? You're planting a beautiful garden, and it's going to be so stunning when it blooms. And in the last couple, like every HR leader, especially if you have strategy responsibility, if you're responsible for transforming some process or redesigning workforce experience or implementing a data strategy, it feels like we're all out front trying to plant this beautiful garden and promising what this is going to look like in a little while, and our house is on fire behind us. People are fleeing for the doors. We're trying to figure out how to get laptops issued to people out in the field. Like that's what it's felt like to HR leaders. Whatever vertical they're responsible for, whatever process they own, they're trying to build employer brand and figure out how to hire hospice nurses and open new locations. And your house is literally on fire behind you, but somebody's telling you you need to plant a garden. That's what it feels like to do business transformation. So I'm sharing this digital equation for success because this is really our grounding framework when we teach people how to do transformation. Number one, we talk about the concept of digital. There's a huge difference between being a digital organization and thinking digitally about your transformation efforts and thinking about a pure technology play. Going digital, being a digital organization, is not implementing technology. It's really a way of thinking. And that's why in our digital equation for success, it is heavily weighted around mindset. It's aligning around a digital people vision for your organization and what that looks like in practice. So the next heavily weighted part of that is understanding your workforce. Who do we have? And I know that where we're starting is, do we even have an accurate head count for our business? Like if somebody asked me today how many FTEs we have and where they sit in the business, it would probably take me a couple weeks to make sure that's an accurate number, and then it won't be accurate anymore because then it's 2 weeks later. Like that's literally where we're trying to get our arms around data. But do we actually understand where people sit in the business? What skills they have today or want to have in the future? How does that align with where the business is going from a strategic growth perspective? What seeds can we start planting in our garden today that will align those business strategies and those people strategies when they need to come together, when those stars need to align? And that's why mindset needs to lead to understanding your people intimately. Amazon knows your workforce better than you do. That's a problem. You need to know skill sets and all of those things better than we do today. Then you can better reimagine their journeys. Not processes, not process design and transactions and the tasks they perform every day, but true holistic employee journeys. How do they need to be able to function at work? What does that look like from a journey design perspective? Then, only when you've done 90% of that equation, this is how you think digitally, then you've earned the right to talk about the technology that would support that. The technology that can fuel that experience, that can bring that data together, that can truly sustain that for the long haul. And it's really about imagining the future workforce. By 2030, we'll be a workforce of digital natives. Today, we still have a lot of digital immigrants in our workforce. And so it's really thinking about how that needs to look in the workforce that's not that far off anymore, because we accelerated a lot of this in the last couple of years. But this is how we help customers understand how to approach transformation. You really have to teach them how to bite off the elephant, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Because again, imagine sort of like planting a garden and your house is on fire behind you. We get that not only are there more pressing priorities and things that need to be addressed, and we're trying to hire faster than people are leaving the business, and we're trying to meet our DEI goals, and we're trying to do all of these things, but how do you do that in a future-looking way that supports long-term transformation? So I just wanted to share some of this as sort of some grounding framework.
No, that's great. Want to go to the second slide? Yeah, we can.
Sure, yeah. This one is probably a little harder to see in the room. I'll be happy to share this. I understand this isn't totally clear, but it elaborates a little bit more on what I described for mindset, or sort of your digital people vision, a digital vision for your organization and for your talent strategies. And I like to break this down, and I will provide this because it gets into the function itself. This becomes hard for us to activate if the current function of HR actually isn't set up with the roles, the skills, the capabilities. There actually has to be some perhaps organizational redesign or centers of excellence, or a way of thinking about the people function in a way that can deliver on the vision that you've articulated for the business. Somebody mentioned listening, to figuring out better ways of listening to the workforce. That's a big part of that people part of the equation, right? Do you have the tools or the means to collect input and to get it in a real-time, sort of actionable sort of way, especially when things are changing so fast? A little bit more on imagining experiences and journeys that are frictionless, modern, seamless, that use data to help for, make room for continuous improvement. And then of course, the technology as the enabling solution. And it really does get into understanding a digital experience architecture, putting the right infrastructure in place, learning how to work with the items in your pantry and your refrigerator. You might have some incredible technology or tools that can help you bring your vision to life, but you can't assess that, you can't audit and assess that until you've done the pre-work. So it's a little bit more explanation around how to think about that equation.
So in the style of interview format, I have a question for you, because I've heard you talk about this, and it fits into this, but it's the concept of storytelling through change. I know you're passionate about this. So this is obviously mindset, people audience, process journey, tech solutions, obviously strategy before tech, we know all this, but if you really take a macro step back, where does storytelling fit in, and how does storytelling help us actually create a successful digital transformation journey?
Okay.
This is maybe a softball question, but for you, but it's a huge question.
All right. So we were talking about soft skills earlier. I think soft skills are actually critical business skills. We just don't have a good definition for them. I think my soft skill is around storytelling. I hope. I try to use it often. When someone is making a business case for anything on here, a technology investment, a transformation journey they need to go on, a new program they need to implement, that requires making a business case, often for investment, at a minimum for buy-in, because you need people, you need resources, you need to institute a new thing, which requires change. So that's storytelling. That's truly storytelling. I love to use the hero's journey. The hero's journey is a storytelling framework that really puts the emphasis on who needs to be the hero. Who's the actual hero? Back to the digital equation for success. People. I hear people say, I hear organizations say this all the time, we're people first now. We're doing people first workforce experience design. We need to make technology about the users. First of all, don't call them users, they're human beings. We're not doing user acceptance testing. We're trying to change the way people work, right? So understand who the hero of the story is and what their outcome needs to look like. A lot of us, I think, have been in the space for some time. We're used to, and a lot of us are vendors in the room or consultants, we're used to selling HR tech to HR tech buyers, to system administrators and implementers, and this is how we think about HR tech. Is this easy for you to implement? Can you get the reporting out of it that you need? And we love to sell pretty dashboards. Look at this pretty dashboard. It's so gorgeous. You're going to love it. We don't talk about the actual workforce and how people are going to be more effective at their jobs and how this new process or journey is going to retain them, how it's going to help you hire more hospice nurses in a new field location you opened up. So I like to use that storytelling framework to challenge people to think about the right audience, who needs to be the hero of your story. The hero of your transformation story is your workforce. And it really flips your way of thinking so that you start to reimagine the business outcomes you need to measure. What does this look like if this investment or transformation program is successful? I hope that's helpful.
I love it, yes.
And that also introduces the concept of change, because you have to get people to go along with, you have to commit to the change that would be required. And you have to ask people to come on that journey with you. Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is very interesting to hear, and I love your framework for the transformation. And I understand that's more of HR transformation, correct?
It is, yep. We use the same thing when we talk about workforce experience and technology strategy, but this is intended to be HR transformation, yeah, at its core.
Right. So I was curious about the mindset. I love the fact that we are starting from there. And by the way, I have done workforce planning analytics courses for about 15, 16 years. So, very much immersed in that. But since I've changed companies, the question that I have is, since you guys are consultants, how different is the mindset in one company of a similar industry versus the mindset of the employees in another company in the same industry? Generally. I mean, like my point is that how much deeper do we want to go into that company versus the industry in general?
Councilor
I guess we can both answer it. I would say that there are some commonalities. I understand there are issues or challenges that are certainly vertical specific. I was at McDonald's last week, one of our customers, and specifically addressing their Global Advisory Council for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which will be familiar to some of you. And I talked about the future of the opportunity and the future of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the future of work. Like, what are we actually aiming for? Where is all of this going? What does this look like if we capitalize on the opportunities of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And they heard me talk about skills transformation, and if you decide to use skills as your new common denominator, guess what else you need to transform? How you pay for skills. So they heard me talk about skills and pay transformation, all of these things, and I had these big eyes staring back at me, and they said, but we still need to keep our restaurant staff today. How do we do all of that? And so there's some stuff that feels more painful or more prevalent or prominent based on your vertical. Restaurant staffing is incredibly unique, but what the common denominator is workforce agility. It's true workforce agility. And so there are a few common denominators like that, I hope I'm answering your question, that really are part of a mindset. It's really understanding what the goal is, and why are we transforming work? Because we're not able to move and pivot like we need to today. We need more agility. We need to be able to redeploy our recruiters when we freeze jobs. Like when we go into a hiring freeze and we just hired 50 recruiters in the Great Resignation, what do we do with all of these valuable human beings who we happen to put the title of recruiter on? They've got skill sets. Could they actually help in other parts of the business? So that kind of agility is one example of mindset that I would say there's some things that are sort of core to transformation across any vertical.
I love that question, and I think when it comes to transformation, change mindset, it shouldn't be different, right? But a part of mindset is understanding who you are, what your purpose is, what the core values of the organization is, what's your service to your customers, right? So mindset should never be completely decoupled from who you are as a company, what you stand for. So I want to, make that bold statement, that statement. But when it comes to change and mindset, I'm going to ask the room, anyone going through change in life, just name out what happens, what do you have to do personally to change, or to manage to change? What's the number one, number two thing that happens? Anybody? From a personal standpoint.
First thing is to come out of denial and recognize.
Yeah, recognize that over there is better than where I am here. So a willingness to let something go. Is that okay? Others? What is change? We use the word freely, but what does it mean?
Fresh input?
Yeah.
Fresh input, new perspectives that are going to let you get past it on.
Yeah, right. So being open to different perspectives. And how do we do that? We need to listen. We need to actually take risk. Right? All those things are critical for any change mindset. And that spans vertical or industry. Right? Anybody else?
Resilience.
Resilience, absolutely. It's never going to be easy. It can't be. If it was too easy, I think it would be a significant change. Ben?
You have to get rid of any previous baggage that influence your incoming perceptions.
Right, and how do you do that?
Yeah.
No, I mean...
Get accountability to call it out.
I love it, yeah. Good. One more.
You have to accept it.
To accept that change is necessary. Right. Yeah, good. And since you had that question, did these answers help? I love that question. I'm just wondering if...
No, it really helps. So I think what I took from your answers is that it's not, even if the mindset of employees in different companies in the same industry is the same, even then, the point is that they need to go through a change. And therefore, it's helpful to understand and articulate that vision of what you want it to be and what it's going to take to get there before you start the journey, I guess, which I'm what I'm understanding. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, change at the end of the day, it's a human beings need to go through change. Human beings make up organizations. So regardless if you're a financial business or healthcare, people change, experience change, process change is a mindset that's pretty consistent across industry.
I would go so far to say, if your vision and your business case for transformation, we'll just use a very generic term, transformation, if it is so strong, so bulletproof, that it's part of your business strategy, it's your commitment to execute a business strategy that will take you into the future, it should be regardless of market condition. It's like if we're going to change our people strategy to shift to a skills-based talent planning strategy, that should be such a bulletproof case that even when the market swings, even when the talent economy changes, even when all of these things happen, that's a commitment to say, this is what's going to take us into the future. And so talk about resilience and commitment to change and all of those things. That means we have to figure out a way to do this even when some of the midterm and short-term stuff like that, we're going to have to react and respond to some of the short-term stuff. But this is a long-term strategy we know we need to commit to. So I think when I think about change, it's really committing to what you know will be required and getting alignment and stakeholder buy-in. That means the whole bunch of stakeholders are going to be affected. I need their input. I need design input. I need all of these things. And that means you stay committed to that course. Of course it can change, but you stay committed to a course that you believe will take. That's how bulletproof your business case needs to be for transformation, with lots of room for iteration, right? Because of course, we can't, well, maybe we could have predicted a recession, I'm not sure. But of course there are things that will happen along the way that you need to react and adjust to. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And we got about 5 minutes left, and we'll get some food and drink, because the pace of change is not slowing down, and it's never going to slow down. And it's only going to accelerate. And so I have this quandary we talked about what's concerning us, is that are we able to change fast enough and appropriate enough to accommodate the needs, the diverse needs of all these stakeholders that we're dealing with. So I'm now the boring guy. I talk about governance, governance, governance. Because if we have a people strategy and analytics strategy, is it going to the right audience at the right time, at the right speed? So as we start to wrap, thoughts on that?
It's a big question. We have 4 minutes left. Yeah, let me just say one, change never happens overnight, number one. So, and the best analogy I use often when we think about change is, a flower, right? If you were to stand there and watch it bloom, right, you wouldn't see it happen. If you walked away for 3 days and came back, it would be completely beautiful, and it would have changed, right? It shaped. So, I think as far as specific to, can we meet all demands? It's a recommitment, and it's a commitment to ongoing change and sustainable change, right? So there's never an end destination, and this is what this model really talks about. And it's this listen, adapt, listen, adapt, listen, adapt model. I can walk through this, but ultimately it's taking in data, using data for good. I can't remember who brought up data as a problem with quality of data. Somebody brought that up. Yeah. You did, yes. So making sure your data is accurate. Not all data are created equal, so making sure the data you use to drive change is linked to specific moments that matter, experience, right? You and I have talked about this too. Let's not categorize change specific to this is onboarding, this is learning and development, this is engagement, this is offboarding, right? And try to solve it in a box,
Yeah.
right? It's experience is experience. It doesn't matter where or what part of the journey it happens on. So I think we need to start thinking like that. We need to have leaders that are committed to the long-term side of change. Yeah.
I mean, I would say, when I think about change as an example, I mean, this is a muscle you need to build. You truly need to sort of train your organization to think and design that way. Like anything you undertake, anything you redesign, reimagine, any transformation program has to be built for change. In other words, it needs to be built not as static, but as something you never intend to be fully baked or to be set for too long. You're truly building to iterate, to constantly respond and improve, continuous improvement. So you have to be okay with, this is never going to be perfect, and it's actually never going to be done. This is an ongoing commitment to constantly change and transform. And that's a muscle. I think that's a muscle you build, and it's a way, again, back to mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's a mindset approach to make sure that everybody knows change isn't a project with a beginning and an end, an output, a pretty, you read out and you're done, you walk away. It's actually a long-term program with some skills involved. You have to train people how to do this and think this way. You have to create the loops, to go back and iterate where you're going to get those inputs. And so it really is, talk about soft skills for business. What a soft skill to have.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And a commitment. Whoever said that too. The change is commitment.
So a few things real quick. I highly recommend, when we talk about mindset, Andrew Huberman was interviewed by Rick Roll. If you don't know Andrew Huberman, he is a neurobiologist. Don't ask me what that is. I just know it exists, and he's one of them. But he talks about action before mindset, which has been a huge revelation for me as an athlete, as a coach, as a father. So when we talk about, employees have a different mindset, shift your mindset, the experience we give them in and of itself will shift their mindset. So translated, experience before mindset. So I'll just throw that out there. Also, I encourage you, Brene Brown is Brene Brown, Adam Grant is Adam Grant. When they got together, Adam was interviewed on Brene Brown's podcast about his book, Think Again, which is a huge gift to us in the people analytics field, because if you have not read Think Again or heard the podcast, he effectively encourages everybody to think like a scientist. And he talks about 3 personas that we as human beings often assume when we're trying to communicate a concept or idea, either a politician, a prosecutor, or I forget this one, or I screwed it up. I was so close. What's that? Did anyone read it? What's that? Was it prosecutor?
Possible advisor?
Oh, it sounds good.
Gosh, man, I'm so glad. I'm going to kick myself after this. Prosecutor?
There's a P, I assume.
Politician? Preacher out there.
Very close to
one of those
proselytizing.
3 personas. But thinking like a scientist, and in order to think like a scientist, it's iterative to both of the points that you made. So I highly encourage that particular episode of that podcast. So as we wrap here, how can people both here and those who are on live stream learn more about you and what you all are doing?
Sure. The easiest way, LinkedIn, search for my name, should be on LinkedIn, Dan Riley, RADICL with no A, RADICL. That's fine. And please reach out. Love to chat. My inbox is open on LinkedIn.
Again, Leapgen, leapgen.com. I actually run our vendor services practice inside of Leapgen. We believe in changing work for good, period. Transforming the entire industry. We can't do that one enterprise at a time. We can try. We don't have enough time for all of that. So we believe in broader sweeping transformation approaches, which includes helping vendors better position their solutions in a way that enterprises can truly transform for the long haul. And I love leading that practice area, so I'd love to have those conversations with some of you as well. And Jess Von Bank everywhere on social. Everywhere on social. It's just the easiest thing to do.
Thanks to you both. Hey, super appreciate it. Thanks for
Brad's going to make fun of me for a long time.
So now we're just going to relax, get some more food, get some more beer, and I mean this 100% shamelessly. If you want to take some food home to your family, put it in a cart, shopping bag, whatever you got, and take it out of here. I will not judge you. I will be thankful that it's going to be used. So please make sure we got. What's that? Don't do that. Oh, you all want to eat some of it, don't you?
Health code.
Oh, health code. Can't take it out. All right. Well, eat it then.
Eat it. That's even better.
And drink some beer. But yeah, and since you have the floor, and it's the last time convening as a group, I want to thank you on behalf of the Surly team for doing everything that you've done to make this happen. Go to plant yourself there. Perfect. All right. Yeah. Go enjoy. Thank you.